and welcome to another episode of Casing the Cover, where we look at the good, the bad, and the stupid of book covers. I am Mary, and with me is my co-host Jen.
Hello!
Who started this episode laughing.
Yes.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
So today we're doing a little bit of a topic episode. What are we talking about today, Jen?
We're talking about your revenge on me. I mean, we're talking about science fiction book covers versus fantasy book covers. Yes, and you are already grinning way too big.
There might be a rant somewhere here.
Probably.
We should start with our rant, which is science fiction and fantasy are not the same thing. Quit putting them in the same box.
Yes.
There's been a very big tendency,
at least in libraries.
And bookstores. Bookstores do it too.
Bookstores. I don't know. I don't go to bookstores.
I do. I go to bookstores sometimes. There's been a tendency to clump science fiction and fantasy into the same shelf.
Yes.
And go, these are the same thing. They're the same category. It's all the same. And anyone who reads or writes science fiction or fantasy will tell you they are definitely not the same thing. So I guess, Jen, what in your mind, where is the line between science fiction and fantasy? What would you describe as a sci-fi versus a fantasy?
The line is dragons. No.
Okay.
Okay. No, actually, maybe that's where I want to go with this. The line is between dragons and robots. Fantasy probably does not rely on robots, and sci-fi probably does not rely upon dragons.
That's probably accurate.
Right? Or maybe I should say dragons and spaceships because both of them fly.
There's a lot of things in science fiction and fantasy that fly. So I don't know if you want that to be your distinction.
No, but I do think that dragons and robots.
Dragons and robots.
Dragons and robots.
That's Jen's explanation of science fiction versus fantasy.
That's my really boiled down version of the verses.
Okay.
Dragons versus robots.
I would say the way that I typically would distinguish the science fiction from a fantasy. Fantasy tends to be more... I'd say fantasy is magic. Science fiction is science. Jen has her badge on again. That's the clinkling you hear in your ears. That's generally where I put it. And there are things I think that can teeter. When I was talking to you about, before the pod earlier was superheroes, because some of them, their powers come from science, and some of them, their powers come from magic.
Yes.
And I also think the science, quote unquote, is relative to the era that it's set in.
Yes, because we had a discussion about dystopian and how dystopian is sci-fi. And I was like, well, what about dystopian that has magic instead of technology?
But that's fantasy.
Yes.
The difference is science versus magic.
Yes.
I think. And I think that your explanation of robots versus dragons fits to that too, because robots are science and dragons are magic.
I use practical examples.
Uh-huh. Yes.
You use more ephemeral sort of ideas, like tangible.
I think there are definitely also story tropes that are typically belonging to one or the other.
Yes.
I think time travel stories are one of those things that could maybe be either. Again,
they are totally either.
It depends on if it's magic time travel or if it's a time travel machine. Let's not even get into Doctor Who.
Which is both.
It's both. Star Wars is also both.
Yes, Star Wars is also both.
And that's the thing is, I guess maybe that's where we should also make a caveat that some things are both, because...
And it's okay to be both, and those can be shelved in either.
But not everything is both.
Mm-hmm. Not all that glitters is gold.
I think you also... There's a distinction with science fiction versus fantasy. Fantasy tends to be more like looking towards the past. A lot of fantasy is set in the past. Not all fantasy. There's a lot of urban fantasy and things like that.
Right.
Where science fiction is future oriented. It looks...
Sorry, steampunk. Apparently,
but
fantasy.
Steampunk is the future for that area of time. Or that... For Victorian era, the technology in steampunk is futuristic.
Yes.
So I consider steampunk to be science fiction.
Oh, yeah. I totally do. I just, based on your statement, I was just razzing.
So, somewhat like we did with our romance episode,
Yes, we need to go over why this is the revenge episode.
we're gonna play a game. So, in our
Would you
romance
like?
episode, I made the stupid distinction of saying that I thought romances covers specifically fall into specific categories, and then Jen brought a bunch of dumb books in here that proved me wrong.
They were not dumb.
I got half of them. I argued my case on half of them.
You argued your case. We're not going to say you won.
So we thought we'd play a little bit of another game with Jen this time.
Okay.
I asked her what do you think belongs on sci-fi covers, and she said spaceships and aliens and robots.
Totally, yes.
Um,
And on fantasy covers belong dragons and wizards and magical swirly things.
magical swirly things.
Well, they do. They have magical swirly things and swords.
Swords.
Just a note, we are sometime going to do an episode entirely devoted to how many books are out there with swords on the cover.
A lot.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Not all of them are science or fantasy. I bet
Right?
you.
They're not.
A lot of them are historical too.
Yeah.
Historical fiction.
We're talking, strictly fiction.
You know, there's an entire. It might have been a book series too. There's like an entire television series where it's dystopian and it's lack of technology, but they all like start using bows and arrows and swords.
Are you talking about that Revolution one?
Maybe. I don't know. I never watched it.
I didn't watch it either.
I just know it was a thing.
I missed the boat on the thrill of that one.
Yeah, it only lasted like 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means it's either really awesome or it's really bad.
Yeah. Or that perfect like level of weird cheesiness that some people really love. Me. If I didn't watch that one, I was too busy watching Once Upon a Time. What does that say about me?
Fantasy.
Yes. Also science fiction. They did an entire Dr. Frankenstein bit in that show. But, okay. I think it's magic. I don't remember. Anyway, so...
Okay.
We have gotten way sidetracked.
Way sidetracked.
It's okay. We're both kind of tired today, so sidetracking is abundant. So I went into our local, our home away from home. I went to the science fiction stacks, which is science fiction and fantasy, because that's how we sort them here, because we're wrong.
Because we're wrong.
And I pulled a bunch of books that had interesting covers.
Do I get to look at the cover?
No.
Okay.
No. And I don't even know if I'm going to tell you the title on some of these. But I brought some books, and I'm going to tell Jen what the cover looks like, much like she did to me, because that's how she cheated.
I did not.
And she's going to tell me if she thinks that the book that I have in my hand would be based. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to her about the cover, and then we can read the description together.
Okay.
And see if her notion of the cover matches what the description of the book is.
Well, that's fair, because that's what we did with the romance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the description of the book kind of tells you whether it's
Are you
science
going to be
fiction or
snotty
fantasy.
about how you describe the cover like I was with the...
Not necessarily. Okay. So the first book, I will tell you the title on this one.
Okay.
This book is called The 5 Daughters of the Moon. And the cover has a picture of a girl. She looks young. The imagery of her kind of looks like a porcelain doll, but it's supposed to be a person. It's just kind of the style of it.
Okay.
And there is a peacock flying in front of her, and she's in a snowy garden, and there's a castle behind her.
Okay, so I'm totally going to say that it sounds like fantasy because of the castle and because of magical swirly things, but you said the moon thing, and so, planets and space and stuff like that to me kind of evoke that science fiction thing, but I'm still going to say it's fantasy.
Okay, I'm going to hand you this book and let you look at it, and then you have to read the back.
Oh my gosh, it totally looks like fantasy. Even the font, it's got kind of a swirly font.
It's got a really pretty swirly
It's
font.
got a very pretty font. It doesn't have any of the typical sci-fi like color scheme either.
No, it's the color scheme is very soft.
It's very
It's all
soft.
blues and whites and a little bit of pink. It's a really pretty cover.
It is. It's
She
very
looks like
pretty.
a doll, doesn't she?
She does look like a doll. Her style of dress is more
Antique.
late Victorian-ish, maybe Edwardian-ish. And the trees don't look science fiction-y.
They're not scary trees.
They're not scary trees either. They're kind of haunting trees. Maybe the whole image of this is kind of haunting. But I don't know, that building in the back is crossing between a very Western look and a very Eastern look, which usually sci-fi likes to. What if China and the United States were the same?
I probably led you a little stray by saying castle, and I should have said palace.
It's a mansion.
It's
a
palace.
mess.
It's a palace.
Okay, I guess.
Read the back of the book.
Okay, here we go. Inspired by the 1917 Russian Revolution and the last months of the Romanov sisters, The Five Daughters of the Moon is a beautifully crafted historical fantasy with elements of technology fueled by evil magic.
It's both.
It's both. So far, it's very elegantly both. This is totally like steampunk, though.
That's a little bit, yeah. It's kind of that historical, weird, yeah.
Yeah, because, and that steampunk really, if done well, likes to play on that line. All right. The Crescent Empire teeters on the edge of a revolution, and the Five Daughters of the Moon are the ones to determine its future. Alina, 6, fears Gargali?
There's a bunch of weird, like, hard to pronounce Russian things in this. I'm sorry.
Pratzalov and his great thinking machine. Oh, this is so totally... Yeah.
It's like fantasy steampunk.
It's
in Russia.
In Russia, yes. Meryl? I'm going to go with Meryl.
Sure.
Who is 11, cares only for her dogs, but she smells that something is afoul with the Gargali. By chance, she learns that the machine devours human souls for fuel, and yet no one believes her claim. Yeah, this is like, yeah. Sibylla, which is really close to Sybil, who is 15, has fallen in love for the first time in her life. Oh yeah, we gotta have the romance in there.
It's not in the romance section though.
No, but she couldn't care less about the unrest spreading through the countryside or the rumors about the Gargali and his machine. So far, this is sort of sounding like Little Women
in Russia.
In Russia
with robots.
With robots.
Magic robots.
Magic robots. Because now we've got Elise, who is 16, who follows the captain of her heart to orphanages and workhouses, but soon realizes that the unhappiness amongst her people runs much deeper than anyone could have ever predicted. And Celestia, who has the most, like, fantasy name, who's 22, will be empress one day. And lately she's been drawn to the Gargali, but which one of them was the first to mention the idea of a coup? Oh, so they're really planning.
Yeah.
An overthrow. All right. Yeah.
This a lot going on in this book.
A lot going on in this book. There is a lot going on. But you know, I kind of want to read it.
It looks kind of interesting, doesn't it? There's 2. It's a duology.
Oh, okay.
So the sequel sounded more fantasy-y, and I wanted to cheat a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So that's the first one.
That's the first one.
I think the next one's probably going to be a little easier. So this one's called The Galaxy Game. And it's... the cover is like a grid, sort of. Okay, it's like a black cover with very faint grid over it. And
okay.
Like a sun or a light of some sort in the background.
Okay.
And like this like apparition, not really there figure.
Oh. This, I don't know, the apparition thing kind of throws me, but it's definitely sci-fi.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's sci-fi.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Karen Lord is one of today's most brilliant young talents. Her science fiction combines star-spanning plots, deeply felt characters, and incisive social commentary. There's a lot of hard to pronounce names in this, and the book itself didn't.
Oh, there we go. That's sci-fi and fantasy.
Hard to pronounce names?
Hard to pronounce names have to exist in both sci-fi and fantasy.
But you know the difference too, though, right? When you write a fantasy name, you throw in a bunch of unnecessary sounds until they kind of turn into a name. Or you use one of an existing name that we use in everyday language, only you spell it slightly differently.
Yes. A lot of vowels.
When you're doing science fiction, you just use random words and pretend they're names.
Okay.
Is this valid?
I'm trying to think.
Well, yeah. I feel like...
Give me one.
One of the characters in this book's name is Serendipity.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm sure there are people named Serendipity.
But you're right.
But it's not a name. And, like, in Ender's Game, aren't, like, 3 of the kids in that book just named after, like, household objects? I'm pretty sure they are. I haven't.
Yeah, but then that starts to sound like Idiocracy, where everybody's named Nacho and Chips.
I'm pretty sure that's how people actually name characters in sci-fi novels. I'm not even kidding. Jen's making gestures. Like in Hunger Games, they're like all named after plants.
Are they?
Katniss and Prim and well, her and her sister are both named after plants. There's a bunch of characters in that too that are named after like
Peter's
items.
a taco.
It's a taco.
I don't know.
It is bread. It's not a. Oh my god, Jen's tired today.
All right, so this one was easy to figure out. Also, the font. Can we talk about the font for a second on this one?
It's very spacey.
Yeah, very block font. Blocky font. Yes, that's the difference. Swirly font is fantasy. Blocky font. Yeah, this is good. Karen Lord, one of today's most brilliant young talents. See, this book sounds good too.
I don't know. I didn't think the book sounded as good. I'd read the Russia one first.
Oh my gosh. Nintenman?
Yeah, exactly.
Ntenman is one of the names of this. Oh, you know what though I've noticed too is a tendency with sci-fi lately is to go more for like East Asian names.
That makes sense.
And this is very East Asian too. Like
because if you consider like where like most of our tech comes from, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
They think that the Western world's gonna fall into disarray and
we probably will.
Probably.
Yeah.
We'll turn in the barbarians where the fantasy novels will come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Get your bows ready.
Get your bows ready.
And watch 2 seasons of a show that didn't make it very long. Just to prepare, you know.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Okay, what do you got for me?
The next book is called The Mortal World.
Oh, is it?
It's a white background with kind of like, I want to say like a splotchy, not watercolory, but like sponge painting kind of a look to it, like crackly.
Okay.
And there's like silhouettes of like the Eiffel Tower on it and some like red cherry flower things and a cat.
The Eiffel Tower throws me. It's either urban fantasy or it's like steampunk sci-fi. So I'm gonna go with urban fantasy.
Okay, I think that's probably closer with it. So far you're getting them right. I'm saving the worst until the end.
I'm good at this.
Again, I picked most of these because the covers just were kind of like, huh? I will also say this is part of the Invisible Library series.
Oh, well,
Invisible Library novel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the M on mortal is actually a sword.
It's like a dagger.
It is. That's totally.
So I think I picked this one because again, it was kind of like, where does this fall? So in the latest novel in Genevieve Cogman's historical fantasy series, the fate of the world lies in the balance. When a dragon is murdered at a peace conference, time-traveling librarian spy Irene must solve the case to keep the balance between order, chaos, and the library.
This is so fantasy, it hurts.
Mystery, too, a little
bit. This is... Oh my gosh, this is just all the fantasy.
It's very fantasy-ish.
We've killed a dragon.
This one's weird because it's a fantasy mystery.
Oh no, they're out there.
But it's fun. I like that.
One of the books I'm reviewing is a fantasy mystery.
Fantasy mystery. Mm-hmm. It's part of the reason why we did this now too, is because I don't think this episode's gonna go out until after we do CocoCon, but we both picked books that are very much like. I think yours is probably more fantasy. I think mine's kind of sci-fi. Mine's like historical sci-fi.
Mine totally like.
And yours is a fantasy mystery apparently.
Yes.
Yeah. Genre crossing.
Oh, bad genre crossing. Anyway.
Oh, okay. We'll get into that later.
But yeah, I like this one too. This is cool because but as soon as you put the words like invisible library on there, also this does not look sponge painty. This looks like parchment.
It looks like old building. Like crackly old paint. I don't know.
And the Eiffel Tower thing is there's like 2 of them. Now, if you had told me there were 2 Eiffel Towers on here, I'd be like, mm-hmm. Also, this is very art.
What does 2 Eiffel Towers tell you?
Because then it's like 2 worlds.
But like alternate dimensions could also be in science fiction.
Right, and I would have leaned more towards science fiction if you told me
there was 2.
Yeah,
okay,
you should
totally.
I would have gotten there. Also, but then like if you told me there was the little cauldron down here.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
That's a little cauldron. Yeah. Yeah, this is very... Also, the style of the, I guess the frame around the words is very Art Nouveau-y.
It is.
And I used to read this book series called My Name is Paris. And it was such a cute series. I wish I could find it again. Anyway.
You cannot find it.
I cannot find it. So there you go, readers.
If you own a copy of My Name is Paris,
it's a series.
I'll give you Jen's address and just ship it to her. I don't know your address.
I know, like, you don't know it.
I don't know your address. I just vaguely know how to get to your house.
We need a P.O. box.
We do. One day.
Yes.
One day. When someone's actually listening.
Okay.
All right. I got 3
more. All right. What do you got?
I got 3 more. Okay. I don't think I'm going to tell you the name of this one right off the bat.
All right.
I'll tell you the cover first and then I'll tell you the title.
Okay.
So the cover is an image. The background's kind of white of 2 spooky trees. And there's a shadowy lady standing in between them. And also they're in a graveyard. And there's 2 men standing at the very far ends of the frame facing away in bowler hats.
Okay.
And suits.
This is either big time travel, sci-fi, or it's like Victorian fantasy. Maybe even a gothic kind of fantasy. So I'm going to go with the gothic fantasy though, because of the graveyard.
Okay, so this book's called Unseemly Science. If I told you that, you would have said it was science fiction.
You got me.
Which I think it's more science fiction. Do you want to read it or do you want me to?
I want to read it.
Okay, you can read it.
All right, let's see. Oh, I love the style of the back cover. Looks like...
the actual cover art's not very good.
Yeah, the actual cover art's not very good, but the back cover is really neat because it looks like a newspaper from like that steampunk era. And it even says, it's all steampunk and circus wonder as we follow the adventures of Elizabeth Barnabas. And it's a tight and fun novel. If I had a bowler hat, I'd take it off to the author of this beautifully crafted steampunk novel. That's adorable. I hate to say it, but sometimes like we are all aware that you pay for some of these cool reviews, these little quippy ones, and please don't make it that obvious.
That they're paid for.
Please don't make it that obvious because both of these sound so obvious. Somebody paid you to write that.
My favorite ones are when there's a lot of dots in the quote. So it's really apparent that they got a review that was unfavorable and they just tore out little bits of it.
Yes.
Stephanie Meyer.
All right. So, in the divided land of England, Elizabeth Barnabas has been living a double life as both herself and as her brother, the private detective. Witnessing the hanging of Alice Carter, the false Duchess, Elizabeth resolves to throw the bullet catcher's handbook into the fire and forget her past. If only it were that easy. Never is. There is a new charitable organization in town run by some highly respectable women, but something doesn't feel right to Elizabeth. Perhaps it is time for her fictional brother to come out of retirement for one last case. Her unstoppable curiosity leads her to a dark world of body snatching, unseemly experimentation, politics, and scandal. Never was it harder for a woman in a man's world. This is really kind of cool. My concern is her brother Sherlock Holmes?
I don't think so.
Okay, because there's been an awful lot of that.
There's been a lot of that, but when those happen, they're very, very upfront about the fact that it's like, look, it's girl Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I don't like
and that this is not upfront enough to be a Sherlock Holmes book.
Right, yeah.
I think she's just impersonating her dead brother or something.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of intriguing.
Yeah, this whole book is kind of intriguing. I might add this one to my list too. Also, like angryrobotbooks.com.
That's a science fiction
that would
publisher.
Totally, yeah. Okay.
All right, so I have 2 more, but we're getting kind of close on time.
Okay.
So do you want to just do one more, or do you want to go for it and do both?
Why don't you show me both of them?
No.
Okay, pick one. Pick one, and then we'll just talk about the last one.
Okay, this one.
Pick your favorite one.
This is my favorite one.
Okay.
Okay, so this book is called The Apocalypse Arc. And the cover is it's green, and there's a light, and squid tentacles.
Oh. Wait, is it light green or dark green?
Both. It's kind of ombre.
It's ombre with squid tentacles. Well, squid tentacles.
They're like translucent squid tentacles. Like it's like a shadow of squid tentacles over this kind of ombre green background.
Okay, see, this totally reaches into the Lovecraftian thing, which is fantasy. And so I'm gonna go with fantasy.
Fantasy, and you think it's Cthulhu?
I think it's totally Cthulhu.
Okay, I'm gonna show you the cover, and I'm gonna read you what this book is about.
What have you done to me?
So this is the cover.
That is so sci-fi.
Wait, I'm gonna read you this because this is hilarious. Stare into the abyss, and the abyss stares back. In the third Cross book, the immortal angel killer Cross faces his most dangerous enemy yet, Noah. For ages, Noah has sailed the seas, seeking out all of God's mistakes and imprisoning them on his ark. Noah is not humanity's savior, but is instead God's jailer. But he has grown increasingly mad over the centuries, and now he is determined to end the world by raising the mysterious sunken city. Doesn't say it's Atlantis, I assume it's Atlantis. Only one person can stop him, Cross. The Apocalypse arc is an epic chase around the world and through history and myth as Cross races to stop Noah from finding the sunken city. He's joined by a few old friends, such as Alice from Alice in Wonderland, and several new characters, Captain Nemo and his crew of Atlanteans aboard the submarine the Nautilus, the sorcerer pirate Blackbeard, who has sworn revenge upon Cross, the devilish angel Sariel, whose sacred duty it is to protect God's Bible, and the eerie and mysterious Ishmael, who may be the key to the world's salvation, or its damnation.
Okay, what fanboy wrote this?
Cross must find a way to bring them all together to stop Noah or allow the world to go down in madness.
Okay, one, this is small press. This is totally a small press publish. I'm embarrassed to say that, like, this almost looks like Seep publish. Like,
I don't know even what genre to put this.
Oh my gosh.
I guess it's fantasy.
This is totally like small press published.
I think one of us should have to read this.
I'm reading this. Oh my gosh.
It sounds like such trash.
Also by Peter Roman, The Mona Lisa Sacrifice and the Dead Hamlets. The font is just everything. Okay, everything about this book, including the size of it, which we need to talk about. It's the really size big. Of books. So when a book is very flat, like it's larger than it should be, they're typically a smaller press because they're trying to save money because it's less pages.
Because it's wider.
It's wider, so it doesn't make as many pages. But this, like, everything about this, the color of the cover, the fact that all the colors are almost the same, it's like you took a mixed material fabric. We're talking about dyeing stuff before. You took a mixed material fabric and dunked it in one dye. Yeah, and it just all came out. The font is so textbook. Everything about this. Oh my gosh, how is this even on a library shelf? How did it make it?
I know. And it was the only one from the series that was there. This one entertained me so much. I had to bring it back here when I read the synopsis. I was like, yep, we're doing it.
I read ahead. I should have done that. Sunken City.
Is it Atlantis?
It's totally Atlantis.
Of course it's Atlantis.
but yeah, this is... I'm reading this one.
I think maybe to be fair, I'll read one of the romance novels you picked, and you can read one of these.
Yes.
I think that'd be fair.
Although, to be totally unfair, so much of this I would read. Like, I would read
the
Apocalypse.
Here's the thing, is the only one I picked because it sounded bad was this one. The rest of them I just picked because they had interesting covers, and I would read The Five Daughters of the Moon. I would read that.
All right, well, maybe
that sounds like something I would read. This is the other one I picked, just because it's another one that's both.
Gosh, this is so steampunk.
The Horns of Ruin, and it's a steampunk. She's got a robot arm, but also there's magic. It's kind of she belongs to like a cult, and they're trying to kill her god, and it's both. It's both. But it wasn't as fun as that one. So.
Also, it's written by a guy, Tim Ackers, and the chick on the cover is so guy fantasy level chick. Like there's a whole lot of leg showing, whole lot of leg.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised there's not more bust showing.
Well, but
she's got gear on.
She's got gear, so you gotta hide the boobs.
The book itself is a little crunchy.
Yeah, but this is also small press. Look at
so
you can tell by the size of the book. This is small.
Is it the same press?
Oh my gosh, it would crack me up. It probably isn't. No, but it's still 3 different letters. This one's actually in the United States. The other one is Canadian. You know what we got to do? We gotta do one about like Canadian small press versus American small press.
Oh wow, I don't know a lot about that. That's a you episode.
That'd be so hilarious.
Maybe one of your publisher friends could join us for that.
Oh yeah, that would be fun. Okay, so
we're just brainstorming in the middle of an episode. It's fine.
That's what we do. This is gonna be one of our longer episodes, but this is a lot of fun.
We have a lot of fun with these because it's fun pulling weird covers. If
you have a challenge for us to do, we would love to hear it because we like cover challenges. And
if you see, or when you're listening to the episode, if one of these sounds interesting to you, or when we post the pictures of these, if they're ones you think we should read, just let us know. We'll tackle some of these.
Yeah,
because we pick some interesting ones.
We do pick interesting ones.
That apocalypse arc, man.
Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so great. I'm waiting for Cross to actually mean like Jesus.
It's just so absurd. It's just so absurd. Him and Alice in Wonderland, they're gonna fight Noah.
And on that,
thanks for listening, everybody.
This has been Casing the Cover.
Be sure to follow us on all of our socials on the Facebook and the Twitter. Facebook more so than Twitter. We're at Casing the Cover. You can email us at casingthecoverpod if you have suggestions or want one of these books. And good news as to where you can listen to us. We are now, of course, we will have been for a while by the time this comes out, but still, we are on Spotify, we are on iTunes, we are on YouTube. So if you are listening to us in one of those places and would rather listen to us somewhere else, be sure to check those out.
Yay!
Yay! So thank you for listening, and catch you next time.
Bye!
Bye!